Hi, Jerry.
Morning, David. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Very good, sir. Thank you.
I just returned from CASEA Connect and RSA. So everybody talking about security and virtual CISO was a top topic. And if you remember in the Right of Boom, everybody was talking about virtual CISOs and stuff. So I know that you're an expert, doctor of virtual CISOs and CISOs. So it will be great to talk with you this time about that.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So I guess that's something that I really want to know is what was your aha moment when you realized that virtual CISO is the thing for you?
Yeah, so my background, as for those that don't know me, is a little bit different than most of the people in the MSP space. I actually came from federal space, so I was DoD, federal healthcare. We didn't really have virtual CISOs, but we provided that CISO service to our government counterparts. And when I moved into the MSP space, the MSP that I was with at the time already had a small service launched. But what wasn't there was really a full blown program. And for me, that kind of aha moment was seeing clients who they know they need some support from us. They know they need to go somewhere where, whether it be from a regulation standpoint, security standpoint, compliance, but they didn't know where to go, who to turn to, what did they need. And because the MSP was already providing IT services, there was a logical kind of connection to say, why wouldn't you provide my virtual CISO services? Most didn't even understand or had ever even heard of what a virtual CISO is, or just the acronym vCISO. So there was an education that had to take place at the beginning. But I would say it was always kind of there. It was just underutilized. It wasn't tailored for our clients and the SMB space. The SMB market, as you know, is very unique. They have their own set of challenges that big enterprises don't have. So that part of that kind of that aha moment was how do we translate the same services and security that we gave to enterprise customers to our small business customers on a budget they could afford.
And Jerry, when you say virtual CISO, different people have different meanings. So what is virtual CISO for you?
To me, it's really more fractional CISO, might be a better term. You're virtual in this context because a lot of this came about during COVID or ramped up during COVID, and everybody was in a remote setting, so they attributed virtual to being remote. I kind of call it virtual CISO, a synonym for fractional CISO, which is these companies can't afford to go out and hire someone like me full time, and they don't have a need to be honest. So they look to someone for that part time support. So giving them 4 hours a month, 8 hours a month, whatever that block of hours is, but giving them some time so that they can get the expertise of someone who has sat in the CISO role without having to pay a full-time employee to sit there all year.
Yeah, and what was the main topics that as a virtual CISO you help the company? So what of the most popular roles of the CISO that you were implemented during this virtual CISO period?
I'd say the most common and most frequent thing was always around compliance. Typically, clients would reach out when they had a compliance requirement. Maybe they're getting ready to go through an audit or they need to renew the audit. They need help with policy authoring. They need help with implementing controls. They don't understand how to interpret controls. But usually, there was something driving the business to the virtual CISO initially. The big challenge then became once you get them over their compliance hump, what do you do for the other 11 months or 10 months out of the year? And that's where it was the vCISO's job to say, let us help with forecasting budget. Let us help with board meetings. Let us educate your staff. Let's do planning. I kind of feel like a virtual CISO is as much a project manager as they are a security person because you're kind of coordinating everything for the client and bringing all the right people at the client organization together. Again, most in the small business space simply don't understand what's available, what they need, and it's our job to go out there and say, are you aware of, and then fill in the blank.
And what were the steps that you did in order to establish your virtual CISO service?
Internally, there was a lot of work around marketing. Obviously, we want to make sure that our customers and potential customers know that we have that service and what that service is comprised of. There was a lot of training internally with both new logo sales as they're trying to bring on new prospects, as well as client experience who already is dealing with our existing client base. A lot of content creation, whether it be marketing slicks, agreements, something to get the word out there, really, that this is what we have and why you should partner with us. And then once the back end was built out, it was more about getting the word out to the clients and saying, for a lot of clients, it wasn't so much that they were ignorant to the fact that they needed security. They understood they needed it, but they didn't know what they needed, how much, and who was the right person to partner with. So a lot of time was really spent building that trust relationship with the client to say, we're the right people to partner. You can sell them on the fact, excuse me, that they need the service, but it doesn't mean they need it from you. So a lot of work goes into saying, we're the ones that should provide it to you.
So building trust, I guess it's the number one thing. And how do you build trust? Is it usually with customers that already get other services from you, or is it new customers that you have to convince them that they need virtual CISO?
It's both. On the new customer, new prospect side of sales, it's about what's the differentiator. When they're shopping MSPs or MSSPs, they have multiple people in mind. Price is usually top of the criteria. But when you get two or three MSPs that are relatively equal, then it comes down to what's the differentiator, what makes us better. And the vCISO service and the depth and breadth of security knowledge can be that differentiator for your MSP. When you're on the existing client side, most of the time it's building rapport because your clients are always working with account managers, they're working with service desk technicians, but they're rarely talking to anyone in the C-suite. They're rarely speaking to anyone about security. If security services are being delivered, it's just they're being delivered transparent to the user. So when they first start to engage with you, you have no rapport. You just have whatever the relationship is from an organizational standpoint. And if you're going to go guide them strategically, they need to get to know you and see whether or not you're capable of guiding them.
And how beneficial was the virtual CISO service for you? So when we talk with MSPs, should they try? And I guess that when you offer a new service, you have to put some effort, thinking, budget. Does it make sense? Is virtual CISO is the new thing for getting more revenue, or any other reason that you see?
Yeah, I think virtual CISO makes sense, like most things. But I always caveat, I'm kind of the outlier that will say, if you're not going to do it right and you're not going to invest in your people, don't do it. I think you can actually do a disservice to your customers. Um, Everywhere that I've ever worked in my career, people have said, I'm not going to do it if I don't do it right. And then I've always seen it understaffed, under budgeted. If you're going to do that, then your virtual CISO is not going to come in with the breadth and depth of knowledge that they need to help the client. And you may actually ruin a good relationship that you have. On the flip side, though, if the MSPs see that, hey, this is a place to increase revenue and market share, and I'm going to invest in the right people, then I think it's a phenomenal thing to do. And I think they all should do it. It's just in my experience, I see too many who try to say, let me do it cheap to start, and then if the customers come, I'll invest. And the model's backwards. You have to accept that you're going to spend money first to build out a good program.
Interesting. So you say that you have to invest, but if you invest, you can get lots of things like differentiation, new sources of revenue, and actually to give something that help you be better from a cybersecurity perspective.
Yeah, as an example, if I'm a prospect and I'm thinking about going with one of two or one of three MSPs, maybe I've down selected two MSPs to the final round, and I go talk to them, and they're both offering the service. They're both offering it at roughly the same price per hour. One has someone with 2 to 5 years experience as a vCISO. The other one has 15 years. Right off the bat, I'm thinking the 15 years is going to be better because they've had more opportunity to see things in different areas. One of the problems with vCISOs is that if you come from one area, say DoD, you might know DoD very well, but MSPs deal with DoD, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, legal, etc. That doesn't mean that you just automatically transfer over into another vertical. So from a customer perspective, seeing someone who's well-rounded, has a lot of experience, and then interview them. Some of the prospects actually want to interview the vCISO to see, are they capable of supporting the customer at that maturity level? So a lot goes into it. It's not hard, but again, investing in the right people will pay dividends.
Great. And Dr. Jerry, when you want to bundle or to structure the price, how do you do that? So how to take it, let's say that you want to have a new service, how to structure the pricing for that?
The pricing, I think, you can talk to different people, and I think most will agree that pricing's in the $200 to $300 an hour range, give or take. You've got to decide for yourself based on your market, your clients, location, all that kind of thing. But I think generally people land somewhere in that probably $200 to $250 an hour range, and you can play with that. But the other thing is you have to structure the actual services. When you go out there to promote your service, what comes with it? You want to be able to tell the customers definitively, here's what you get, here's what's included, and here what might be an extra cost. They don't like being told later that something they thought was included wasn't. And that gives you a chance to really put boundaries around what you do and pick the right people. So if you already know what 7 things you're going to include, then you can find the right vCISO to deliver those 7 things. I think that's pretty important in first getting that program built. And then after that, you just, you can offer incentives. You can offer, if you're already paying for MSP services, maybe you'll give them a discount on the vCISO, however you want to structure it to grow. The other thing that it does is you can pull a lot of those non-recurring project type costs and work out of just a la carte offering, and you can put it in the vCISO service and make it an MRR based offering, which, for MSPs, MRR is king. So there's a way just to take what you're already doing and converting it into MRR, and that in and of itself may pay for the program.
Interesting. So you say that as an MSP, you already provide services, and if you structure this offering as a virtual CISO, and let's say you add assessments and compliance and other stuff, you have the gaps, and then in order to fulfill the gaps, you're doing the project that you already done in other structure, now in the terms of MRR.
Correct. You said risk assessment. That's a great example. Policy authoring. It's stuff that everyone needs and is typically sold as an ad hoc project, but really it could be moved into the vCISO program, and it's just part of what you do month to month, year to year, and it just becomes MRR. So same numbers, just a different bucket to put them in that's better for the MSP.
Yeah, super interesting. Another thing that I heard, that once you are doing some kind of risk assessment or gap assessment, actually get more transparent with transparency with the customers, and you can justify those projects in a better way. Maybe add new projects to increase your cybersecurity posture.
Yeah, you do a couple things for the client too. So this isn't all just beneficial to the MSP. On the client side, the client's going to get things like they understand a fixed cost model, and they're going to get a fixed cost every month so they can budget. They can then also look at those risks and say, what's our risk appetite? And if the virtual CISO is good, this is why I think you need to spend money on a good vCISO. They can help manage the customer from a project perspective. They can help with budgeting and forecasting. A lot of times, maybe people don't know this before they start the vCISO service. vCISOs rarely are talking to the CFO or the CEO at the business. A lot of times they're talking to managers, directors, PMs, assistants, and all of their message is being funneled through someone to a board or to the C-suite. So when we talk about forecasting and budgeting, it's critical because you're the person that's going to go help the C-suite make next year's decisions, but you might be doing it without ever speaking to the C-suite. I think that fallacy or myth that you're always in there with the C-suite and you have this direct interaction probably causes some vCISOs to fail, because if they don't have that background, they don't understand how to get their message to the person who's then going to go deliver it on their behalf.
Yeah. Great. Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for this conversation, and being one of the best virtual CISO I know, and CISO. So, and a great partner with Synomi. So thank you so much for this conversation, and have a great day.
Thanks. You too, David. Appreciate you having me.
Perfect. Bye-bye.